What's going on? What's going on, Mendezville? It's another good show. Welcome to the show, Mendezville Live. We got some good topics today. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying their summer. July 20th, Thursday night. We're going to be talking a little bit about sports, soccer in particular, recruiting, college coach. I had a college coach coming in talking about athleticism, recruiting, background, everything and anything. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Great resume. I get to coach his son right now. And let's see, he's here at UTRGV, enjoying the valley so far, enjoying those tacos. So without any more delay, let's get Coach Mark Foster onto the show. What's going on, Coach? How are you doing?
Doing brilliant. It's great to be with you, and thanks for this opportunity. And I know we've talked about it for a while. I'm glad we're finally able to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you're at UTRGV, and you're the head coach down there?
Yeah, on the women's side, and moved down, got the job sort of end of the spring last year, and moved down full time with my family in the summer last year. So been here just over a year, and I've loved it so far. Starting to settle in.
Yeah. Big change. Where are you coming from before you got here to the valley?
So I was at Arkansas Little Rock, and as life works, relationships are important. And the athletic director I worked for at Arkansas Little Rock was able to develop a really good working relationship with him. We were able to win a championship there together and put that program on the map. His name's Chase Conk, came down here, took the opportunity to be athletic director at UTRGV. And naturally, when he was down here, I followed his career, followed what the school was doing. A lot of energy about the valley, a lot of energy about the school, a lot of growth in athletics. When he called and then went into more depth about the opportunity here and what the athletic department wants to do, when I heard the whole story, it's like, hey, I want to be involved. I want to be part of it, and here we are. So blessed to be here, and like I say, just over a year, and it's been fun so far, and looking forward to the future.
Awesome. So your background, well, I hope the valley's treating you well. And I know I coach your son, and we talked where it's pretty good food. You're coming from Ireland, correct?
Yes, sir. And one of the things I've found, it's the people here are very similar to the Irish, very hardworking, very honest people, very family orientated. The people mentality is quite similar to Ireland. The things that are different is the food and the heat, of course. So
yeah, cold and wet in Ireland, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It is. So, yeah.
Can you give us? I mean, we're here to talk more. The majority of our conversations can be soccer. Can you just give us a little bit of your background? How did you get from Ireland to the U.S. and your soccer journey?
Yeah, of course. So, growing up in Ireland, a lot of, kids, especially young boys, there's more girls playing now, and the Republic of Ireland played their first game in the Women's World Cup today. So that's great. But
awesome.
When I was young, it was really little boys played soccer, and everybody dreamed of leaving Ireland and going to England and playing in the Premier League. So grew up in a soccer environment, football as we call it, and was fortunate, was able to play at a good level, amateur, very high amateur soccer, and then the Irish League is semi-professional, was fortunate enough to be able to play semi-professional soccer, and very proud to say I play at the highest standard in my country. But I was still working at the time. It was a part-time league, and I was working in construction, and playing part-time soccer was hard on the body, and was looking for other opportunities. And when I heard about the opportunity to come to America and potentially study on a scholarship and get a degree, and still play at a good level, well, once I was aware of that and had that opportunity, it was too good to turn down. So took a scholarship offer to play at a small Division II school now in Nashville, Tennessee, called Trevecca.
Nice.
Loved it. Loved Tennessee. Loved my time in Nashville. The people at Trevecca were brilliant to me. Got to play there. Graduated there. They were the first school to hire me as a coach and believe in me and give me a chance. And had a wonderful time coaching there. Met my wife there; she was an athlete there as well. So that was where the coaching journey started. And then I was on to the University of South Alabama as an assistant coach. Went there with a good friend, Richard Moody, and had the opportunity to work under him and learn what the Division One game was all about. And then the Arkansas Little Rock opportunity come up, and had a great 4 years there. 4 years in Arkansas, really enjoyed it. The first little bit was brilliant. We won a championship. Got to play in the national tournament, the NCAA tournament against Arkansas. Was amazing. The last few years there were tough during COVID. Coaching during COVID was very tough, and keeping things together and keeping the players safe and creating an environment where people could still compete but comply with COVID regulations was very tough. So, if I'm being honest, probably needed a fresh challenge. Sometimes a fresh challenge is as good as a break, and when the opportunity to come down to the Valley and work at UTRGV for a wonderful administration that really believe in the Valley and believe what athletics can do and help put the Valley on the map. It was once I come down, visited, seen the place and seen the project, called my wife and said, "Hey, we're moving to the Valley." So that's the 5 minute sort of
nutshell
history story,
Yeah, hey, it sounds like a great soccer journey. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot of challenges along the way, and trying to make a team and trying to get to the dream of playing an EPL and things of that nature. See, I didn't know you had gone on scholarship to play soccer. What is that like when you were getting recruited to go from Ireland this way? What kind of challenges were there for you? What was that
in those days? So I have to be honest with you, that was almost 20 years ago. That was what do we think? 18 years this summer. Summer 2005, I would come over. So in those days, there wasn't a lot of awareness in Europe of American college soccer and how professional college athletics is. And in Europe, there wasn't a lot of awareness of the opportunity. Now, I get emails every day from kids in Europe. I get emails every day from agents in Africa, Europe, all around the world, South America. People know that the secret's out. People know that college athletics in the US is a big thing. And, now I'm a coach, when if I'm looking at a player, that kid has to realize, they're competing with everybody in the world for that spot. They're competing for that opportunity. So it's not just another kid in the Valley. It's not just another kid in Texas. Even there's great soccer in the Valley, great soccer in Texas, right? But, it's a big world out there, and everybody's aware of what American college athletics is and what a wonderful opportunity it is. So it was different for me when I did it. It was more of a relationship thing. A friend of a friend knew someone, and hey, are you interested in coming type thing? And so it was a little bit different then. I didn't talk to a lot of schools. I didn't consider a lot of schools. It was once I talked to Coach Carr at Trevecca, that's where I was going. And when I got there, loved it, loved all 4 years of it. Very blessed for that experience. But now it's completely different. A good player, if you're talking to a good player, they're probably talking to multiple schools and probably have multiple opportunities in front of them. And it's much more competitive, the recruiting game.
So when you went to school, was it a full ride scholarship you got fully paid for, or you had to get loans, or how did that work?
No, most of it was covered. I was very fortunate, but not all of it was covered. And I was fortunate. A family were kind enough to let me live with them. So that provided my housing. That was a great opportunity. I also worked, so I worked when I was a student as well. During the summers, I coached camps, and during the year would have worked in the school gym and worked school basketball games and everything. And so, but you know what? It made me appreciate it. It made me appreciate it more, and having to work for something. Sure, there's no harm in that, right?
Absolutely. You get to appreciate more.
Yeah.
Have some more weight on that. When this is a question I want to ask you because it dawned on me after so many interviews that I've had, and a lot of times I get high school coaches in here or we talk.
Yeah.
What kind of coaching is it like when you were at high school in Ireland, and what kind of coaching did you get? Is it hard coaching? Is there a big difference from coming from Ireland to collegiate coaching as a student athlete, or is there like the high expectation for you to perform?
I think, I'm going to age myself a little bit. I'm going to start to sound like an old man. Back in my day, it was a different style of coaching. I'm not here to say it was wrong. I'm not here to say it was bad or one way's right and one way's wrong, because
Right.
a lot of that hard coaching has made me the man I am today, and then shaped
Hmm.
me. And I think but it was an environment where yeah, a lot of tough love, a lot of tough
Mm.
love. But for me, I think the game has changed. I think the kids have changed, and then we've become wiser. Sports psychology is a big thing now. The mental health is a big thing now, and I don't care who you are, what job you're in. We'd all rather our boss talks nicely to us and gives us a hug rather than just yells at us every day. And
Yeah.
we I don't mind being held accountable when we make mistakes, but make sure when we do a good job, make sure you see it and praise us. And so back when I was playing, there was if a mistake was made, it wasn't missed. But there was a lot of times you maybe had an assist or scored a goal, and it was just acted like it was normal. It was just,
Yeah.
put
That.
the ball on the halfway line and go again. So yes, it was a different, completely different style of coaching than it is now, yeah. But for me now, I think we have to be more considerate in how we speak, and we have to also get the balance right. We have to, first and foremost, whether it's high school, club, boys, girls, professional, we have to build relationships with our players. They have to know that we care. And then I think once they know we care, and once the player knows that we've got their best interests at heart, that does allow you to be hard on them when they need it.
Little
Sometimes
bit.
they
Yeah.
need to be told the truth, but again, we have to get that balance right. We have to make sure we see the good, and we have to make sure we encourage, and we have to pick our moments. I'm
Yeah.
realizing that one of the things I'm fortunate with in the college game, right? I get to be around the players every day. So, maybe in the heat of a moment of a game or the heat of a moment of a training session, that's not the right time to say something. I can wait the next day, and the player can come into my office and we can watch it on video, and I can have a conversation about, hey,
Mm.
that's not what we wanted in that play, or what was going on, what was your perspective. The reality is, for a lot of club coaches or a lot of high school coaches, or even the environment I've got to know you in, coach, me and our boys are playing together, and if you wait till after a game or wait till the next practice to make a point to them, they probably forgot about it. So much
Yeah.
has happened. Sometimes you're thinking, right, do I make that coaching point, or do I wait? Or sometimes I'll even, on the car ride home to Campbell, say, hey, Campbell, in that moment, what were you thinking, or what were you doing? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dad.
Yeah. Hey,
So
Levy. I go through the same thing with Levy. He's like, what?
so I think the other thing with coaching, I think there's a lot of people maybe watch a video or read a book on Pep Guardiola, and they think that's the only way to coach, and they try to
Right.
copy it. I think you have to be we have to be ourselves and be authentic to ourselves. So in Ireland, we're very passionate about the game, and so I do bring a level of passion with me, and that's who I am. But I have to control it, and the passion has to inspire the kids, not make them afraid every time they're on the ball. But I think you have to be authentic to yourself.
No doubt. Great points there. And I'm thinking to myself as a coach, from junior high and now in elementary and now with the Legacy FC, it does I do catch myself in those kind of situations. One other aspect that I'm just wondering, what was it for you? What was it like for you coming from Ireland, watching the EPL, growing up with soccer, and then playing in the United States 20 years ago, which is very different
Yeah,
soccer than what it is now.
yeah.
Was that slower, easier, faster? Like, what was your take on that once you got here as a player?
So the style of soccer, playing, you come over and you're doing pre-season and end of July, early August is very hot, and so had to become a smarter player. In Ireland, the temperatures were cooler. You could make every run. You could play a
Mm,
more pressing game. You could tackle a lot more. Then when you start to play in the heat and you start to play midday and stuff, you have to start to think, right, when do I run? When do I press? When do I not? And have to be smarter. And then, so that's on the playing side. On the coaching side, you have to consider that in college we play 2 games a week, and so you have to use your
oh wow.
squad much better. It's more of a squad game, and more substitutions and rotations. So the challenge is getting players to believe in that. The challenge is getting players to understand rules and responsibilities of, how we manage a season and games. Um, for me, the big challenge when I come over and I was playing at Trevecca, it was kind of like, I can say it, I was probably a bit of an arrogant European. I thought, this is the way you got to play. You got to play like this, And then you realize we've got some great South American players that want to play a certain way. And then we had some very good American players and some great athletes. And again, I was lucky. My coach at the time, Coach Carr, was very good at being patient with me, very good at building a relationship with me, and very good at saying, hey, Foster, you can bring experience from Ireland to the table. You can bring that, but you've got to adapt. You're in America, right? So you've
Mm,
got to adapt
yeah.
to America. And so when we started having success at Trevecca was when, we all started to realize, hey, it's a team game and we've got to respect each other, and we've got to respect each other, see the game different, and come up with a formula that works for the team. So, yeah, you can, again, be authentic to yourself and true to yourself, but then you've also got to adapt and go, right, I'm in a different culture where the game's played different for obvious reasons.
Was the team majority American, or was it like half and half, or?
A little bit of everything. I would say probably, ooh, 20 squad of 25 most years, and you would have probably had about 10 international players, some
Mm,
European, some South American. Our coach was from Canada, so he had some really good links in Canada, brought some great Canadians down, and then with some great American lads as well, in fairness. And so it was United Nations approach was ours, So
was there a big? You were coming from European and the European players, and then the South American players. Is there like? Can you talk a little bit about the difference in style of play there?
yeah, I mean,
Excuse me.
again,
Excuse me.
so I played with a guy. I'll give you one example. We played with a guy, Alex Lorenz, and Alex, I couldn't tell you which foot was his best. He was that good. He was the
Mm.
first true, absolutely true 2-footed player I played with. And Alex
And he
could
was
have
from
took
where?
Argentina. Alex could have
Oh,
took the
nice.
ball. Could have took the ball in any situation. You could have passed him when somebody was touch tight with him. Whereas maybe wouldn't have been used to doing that. Or you could have given the ball in any foot. So it's just, again, it's like anything. You got to learn the players and build relationship with the players and realize, right, this Alex can take the ball any time, any place. He can do this with it, so you got to make these runs for him. Some of the other
Yeah.
players, you got to know their strengths and weaknesses, and you start playing to their strengths, and so, and become a team, and so we were able to do that, I think, and with a lot of fun doing it as well. And we used to joke about which league's better, Spanish league, Premier League,
Yeah. That's a continue. We still do that.
and
Everybody
we,
does that.
we we had a Spanish guy on the team, and he was a Barcelona fan, and so we would argue about who's better, Madrid, Barcelona, and when
Yeah.
El Clasico would come on, we're watching the games together and stuff like that, and so yeah, it was great memories, but a great learning lesson, because again in Ireland it was very just play one way,
Mm.
fair in the 90s when I was playing it, almost everybody was playing 4-4-2. So you weren't thinking about a lot of different formations, and you weren't
Right.
thinking about a lot of different styles of play. So it was a wonderful experience for me to get exposed to that, get a challenge to that, and start to see the game in a different way and see different things and play different formations, and all things that have made me a better coach, I think, when it's all said and done.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I think I've always said that you don't need to be a good you don't need to have played something to be a good coach, but I always think that the former player might have a little bit of an edge, and I'm talking about the top coaches, that the former players have a little bit of a better understanding because they went through it and they would have an edge. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. Now that you're a coach, now you hear UTRGV. I think one of the biggest things that we've talked about on why we're doing this podcast is if you can kind of guide us on what is the recruiting process, especially for all the girl parents, because you're the female
Yeah,
soccer coach, correct?
yeah, and I can bring some perspective to the men's side.
Right?
We can speak a
Yeah, of
little bit
course.
on both. So on the women's side, the women's game, there's more Division One schools play women's soccer right now. I think next
Mm,
year in NCAA Division One, there's going to be 347 teams, I believe. So there's going to be more opportunities out there for young females, which more opportunities can then make it more competitive, and there's pros and cons to that, right? So on the girls' side, the relationship building and recruiting usually starts a little bit earlier. So usually junior year, we're talking to players, we're making offers. To give you an example, for the 2024 signing class, we already have two players verbally committed. For the
nice.
2025 signing class, NCAA rules allow us to start speaking to kids in the 25 signing class on June 15. So this past June 15, we started calling kids. We've already made some offers for 25. Whereas
Awesome.
Brahim, our men's coach, they would do a lot of the relationship building, start a senior year, start making offers
Mm,
later in the day. So that's a big difference there, you know. So for any mum or dad out there of a young player on the female side, they need to start thinking about which college they want to go to, what might be the right fit, and start going to ID camps and start watching. You know, definitely go and watch. I speak to so many parents and I speak to so many kids, and they say, "Coach, I want to play Division One," or "Coach, I think I'm good enough to play at your level." And I say, "Well, have you ever watched the game? Or what do you know about my level?" And there's an awkward silence. They've never even, like they just so. I would encourage the players to get out and start watching and start thinking and seeing, and you can see all the games as well on ESPN Plus and all that. So there's no excuse for kids to not go in person, or to not watch online and start educating themselves. The girls need to do that earlier. The guys is a little bit later. Um, I think I would warn parents to be careful. You can spend a lot of money, you can waste a lot of money going to camps. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. There's a lot of people out there say, even now the latest thing is people are, being paid to promote social media and
mm.
record players and put highlights together and stuff for them. And some of this stuff can be good. And of course, now we all are aware we need to have a good social media presence. But yeah, there's a lot of people trying to make money out of this as well, and a lot of people trying to take advantage. And so, parents definitely need to be careful out there in the recruiting process.
So absolutely. As a matter of fact, we're on a Friday night, and they have that school of Spain, and Spain's here, and this sale of, oh, you're gonna be coach, be come to our camp. We're gonna coach you, direct link to Spain. And I'm like, man, my kid's 7 years old, man. I'm not gonna go
Yeah,
spend a bunch of money.
yeah,
Maybe when he's 13, 14. I had
yeah.
a I had Michael Lira. She's over there in Los Angeles, and I had him on the podcast, and he was talking about how I guess we're talking more in the boys side, where if 15, 16, I mean, you're being looked at by professionals. If
Yeah.
you're not being looked at by professionals, more than likely you're going to go collegiate if you haven't gotten picked up by 16, 17. How true is that?
Yeah, and some people might say that's too early to judge. The reality is that's what's happening, and that's the same in Europe. In Europe, most countries, the kids are allowed to leave school at 16, and
Really?
that's the early in Britain and Ireland for sure. You can leave at 16. You can stay on till 18 if you want and pursue college, but the professional teams in over there are deciding at 16, is this kid good enough to be put on an apprenticeship,
Mm,
and then maybe go in as an apprentice for 2 or 3 years, and then they're deciding, right, how long do we give them a pro contract if we give them a pro contract? So, yeah, for sure. They're deciding that early on whether guys are going to be ready to play pro, So definitely, I think if at 18 or 19, a kid hasn't got a pro offer, college is definitely what they should be looking at.
that's interesting. And I always tell people when I'm doing all this legacy stuff and all this soccer that's going on in the valley, because it just exploded. It wasn't that big as it is now 4 years ago, five
Yeah,
years ago. It just, some leagues started popping up. Some people started getting more organized, right? And then, we had the Plaza League, which was probably the dominant one. We had the Misa League, which was awesome. Always, those were the main two. And then all of a sudden, one league started and then another league started. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's nice here in the valley for the younger kids, but some parents take it a little bit too serious where they're already thinking pro. And I'm like, hey, calm down. Just let them have fun with it. When in high school, my thing is high school. For example,
yeah,
my son, if he gets, I want him to enjoy his high school career as a soccer player. But going back to the recruiting and the aspect where you already signed a few, you can start talking to some others. So, for example, this past season, you signed someone. What kind of things did you look for that made you say, okay, that's a girl I want to join the team?
yeah. So again, it's each coach has got to think about what style of play they want, right? So their style of play and what type of player are there. But for us, we're looking at the whole package. I am a college coach, so we're looking for kids that are going to do well in the classroom. We're looking for kids that want a good academic experience. We're looking for kids that, we're traveling all over the country, so we're at the airport and the kids wearing a UTRGV, warm up. We want
Nice.
them to be representing the school in the valley well, right? We don't want, so you really are looking at the person and you're trying to get to know the person to see, is it a good fit? Am I the right coach for that kid? Am I the right coach for that family? And then are they, do they play the style of soccer we want or what we think will be effective in our league? So there's a lot goes into it, and we try to bring all the kids. We try to bring the kids in on visits, especially the American kids. We sign international players that sometimes we just can't afford to bring them on a visit or can't get over to Europe to see them, but
Mm,
we try to use technology and do Zoom presentations and try and share a lot of stuff and video tours, etc. We try to spend as much time as we can getting to know the players as people, getting to know the families, and then again making sure it's the right fit academically and making sure it's the right fit as a player. And players don't realize this, and I try to tell them. I said, look, if I'm recruiting two midfielders and we can't decide which one's the best player, and then we look and go, well, one's a 4.0 student and one's a 2.5. Well, we're going to take the 4.0. So sometimes the academics will be what, it is what makes the decision in which way we go on a player. We check their backgrounds. We try to talk to as many coaches as we can. We check their social media. When we bring them on campus, we intentionally introduce them to a lot of people on campus, and then we ask feedback, right? How were they? So we bring them in and they meet our academic advisor. We bring them in, they meet our strength coach. They meet the athletic trainer, and We send them off with the players and have some time away from the coaches and parents on campus, and then we take all that feedback and we try to make decisions that way.
Every college guy I had on the show, grades first. It was funny. I went to go watch a high school game one time there at La Jolla High School. We had a real good, smooth kid. I met him in 6th grade. My brother coached him in 7th and 8th. Shout out to Mosul. Smooth on the ball. Everybody talked highly of him. And the UTRGV coach was there. I don't know if it's the same one. I don't know. Right. And I approached him. Hey, coach, you're the UTRGV coach. Yeah, I'm here to watch Mosul. And the very first question he asked, I let him know, hey, you know what? We're his coaches from junior high. Very first question. How is he in the classroom? Yeah. And I was caught by surprise because I expected more conversation about his speed, his technical touch, his recognition. How is he in the classroom? And ever since that day, and this was years ago, this was about 8-9 years ago, and every time I talk to more collegiate coaches, it's grades make a big difference. And when you're recruiting, like you said, the same caliber kid, just go by the grades. Do you ever find yourself, or in your experience from all universities you've been at, where you struggle with kids not ready for that academic load?
Sometimes, but from again, that's where you want to know. So you want to know what you're getting into. You want to know, right, are they struggling? And then the next question would be, right, is there an issue there? Is there, I'll share my own story. I'm dyslexic. So, I was able to make good grades, but I got a lot of support, and the school were able to put certain things in place that would help me with my disability. So, I would never write a kid off when I see bad grades. I would then ask the deeper questions and go, right, what's going on? Is there a personal problem that we can help them with? Is there a disability we can help them with? Are they just going through a bad time? We would try to find the whole story. We're just, I don't want to give the impression that if a kid has bad grades, I just walk away. We'd usually ask some more questions and deeper. And then, sometimes you find that, hey, that they're just struggling. And if somebody gives them a chance and somebody gives them a hug and arm and believes in them, that's the thing they need. Or they maybe just need the motivation of, right, you know what? If I don't go to class and make good grades, I don't get to play, right? And so maybe that's what motivates them. But, the reality is sometimes you do have situations where you'll do all the background, you'll do all the talk, and you just look and go, what I'm hearing is that kid is just not putting the work in. And what it is for me is I'm big on hard work. I shared with you, I worked construction when I was young, and when I was in college I worked part-time jobs and stuff. I was never the best player, never the smartest, but I wouldn't have been outworked, and my teammates would say that if you talked to anybody I played with. So for me, it's going to be hard for me to connect with someone who's not interested in working hard. So when I say I got to find the right players and the right people for me, someone that I have to get on every day. Hey, come on, need you to work hard. Hey, come on, need you to work hard. Those type of kids, I just don't want to have to tell them that every day for 4 years,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if they're not willing to work hard in the classroom, they're probably not willing to work hard, even though they may have skill, right? So they may, in high school or in club, they may be so skillful they can get away with cutting corners. But certainly at the Division 1 level, everybody has skill. Everybody has something that got them in the room. And then it's your attitude and it's your work rate, those type of things that are going to define what your career looks like once you're there. So for me, the red flag is if the kid's just not willing to put in the hard work, then I think sometimes it can tell you about their character,
Man, I'm 100% with you. I remember some people, when I was at the university levels, one of the questions they asked you in interviews was, what is one of your weaknesses? And over the course of time, once I was in school, I came back down to the Valley, I figured out that one of my weaknesses, I think this is my biggest weakness, is my passion. And when you put me around people that don't have the same passion and are gonna work and they just love being there, I rub them the wrong way because I just enjoy seeing the process and as they're getting better, the development of kids, and when they score a goal, they look so excited. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I totally understand where you're coming from. You talk about work ethic and outworking. I had Eric Montalvo here last week. Can you give us a rundown of what kind of the strength and conditioning program from a collegiate soccer aspect?
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, soccer, men's and women's, is played in the fall. Okay, our players they'll be on campus here in a few weeks, and they'll start pre-season, and we'll be playing. At that time, we're playing 2 games a week. So we're not going to be able to do as much lifting, heavy lifting. Most of in the fall, our championship season, when we're playing our games, we're more concerned about managing training loads, and we're more concerned about how do we peak at the weekend. So we'll usually get one what they would consider heavy lifting or good lifting, and then we maybe have one other lighter one or a recovery lift. Even sometimes, it's become very popular.
Yeah.
Even NFL players and stuff like that, maybe come in
do it the night
after.
of.
Yeah,
the
come
night of the
in
game.
and do a light lift as part of the recovery. So then we fast forward to the spring. The spring is where we really can make big growth athletically because we're not playing as many games in the spring. We're allowed to play 5 games. So we have much more time where we can get heavier training loads, and we've got an extended period of time. I don't listen to get better at soccer, whether it's technical or tactical or physical or in that weight room. It's not going to happen in 1 or 2 sessions. It's going to happen over time. And I know it sounds cheesy, but you have to trust the process. So the spring is a period where we can see big growth. And so in the spring, our players are in the weight room 3 days a week. Usually it'd be in Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the weight room. And then I try to build a great working relationship with all my strength and conditioning coaches because I don't want them getting better in the gym if it's slowing them down on the pitch. And, if they're getting injured on the pitch and they can't work out with my strength coach, then he can't make them better. So we would Chase is the guy that does it for us at the university. And me and Chase would meet a lot and plan sessions. I mean, and we're talking 4 or 5 weeks out ahead. We would sit with a calendar and say, well, look, if you're doing this on this day, then I'll be doing a different session the following day, or we'll talk about, am I doing sprints on the field, and that's more bursting, so what's the right day to do sprints? What's the right day to do longer endurance runs? So if Chase has maybe done a hamstring day in the gym or a lower body day in the gym, we certainly don't need to be doing sprints the next day, for instance, but maybe a longer endurance run, maybe. So from that side, I love it. I love that I have a strength and conditioning coach that I can work alongside who can, because I'm the soccer guy, that's where I should be at my best, and I have to trust him. But the spring is where we would do most of our lifting. We're not trying to make our players look like NFL linebackers or something, but we are trying to. We want them to improve athletically, and we see it as much as anything about injury prevention. We don't want the kids getting injured, and so we do a lot of work in the spring, and then it comes back to the player. So when they leave us in May and they're not back till the 1st of August, it's up to them. What are they going to do? Are they going to continue to be self-motivated over the summer and play and work out? And again, that comes back to that work ethic and how much you want it.
Absolutely. So
and it's not even, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's work ethic, it's a job. If you love it, it's not. So
100%.
So we have kids we have kids that I have to say, hey, listen, come on, put the balls away. We've got a game, you need to rest or you need to take it, so, I don't want to make it sound like it's some painful thing that's not fun. Listen, if you love it, you want to do it. The players that are knocking on my door saying, "Coach, what do I need to do? Hey, coach, what do I need to do this summer to be in the team next year?" They're the people you want, right? They're the people that we all love coaching, you know.
It's funny you mentioned that because that feeds even more into my new philosophy when it comes to burnout. With Levy more than anyone, because Sophia, I know she's more into fine arts. She was schooling people the other day when her one act play she's working on right now. But more with Levy is, how do you avoid getting a kid to burn out? And then I realized one time, if you love soccer and you just love playing soccer, there's no such thing as burnout. You get burned out
Yeah.
because it never was your thing. Of course, this is my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe some people might disagree and say, no, you got to manage, because you're here in the Valley. There's academies and little club teams going 2-3 times a week year round. And what's your take on burnout like that with a younger crowd, with the younger kids?
I think, so first of all, I would say, look, I think burnout does happen. And I was sharing with you during COVID, it was very hard for me. But that was not because I didn't love soccer. It was the stress of how do I create a safe environment to let these kids play. And so,
but that's coming from you as a coach.
So burnout can come from somewhere else. So again, if I have a young kid and they're maybe not wanting to play or they're not wanting to do something, you think, gosh, he or she used to love it and now they don't want to do it. The first thing I'd be saying is, there something else going on? Is there a personal problem? Is there a problem at school, or is there something that's happened that, sometimes that can be a red flag to something else, So don't want to go down that way, but I do think that's something that it can be. Where I see burnout in the US, this is such a big country, right? That you have opportunities all over the country. So we've even talked about this before. You maybe have an opportunity in Dallas, and the kids has to leave, and what's causing the burnout is all that travel, or every single weekend away, or every single weekend at a hotel.
I see what you're saying.
So if that starts for a young boy or girl, say at 8, and they do that the whole way through till they're 18, they maybe haven't fallen out of love with soccer. What has happened is they've not been allowed to have a childhood. They've spent too many weekends away from friends and hotels, or too many 5-hour, too many 6-hour drives, or they decide, well, hey, I want to be on the team in San Antonio because that's better. Well, driving to San Antonio 3 nights a week or the weekend from then all of a sudden, I'm not saying that's wrong. That works for some people, and some people love it. So good luck to them. But I think those are the type of things that sometimes cause burnout. Maybe the 17-year-old kid that says, hey, I don't want to go to soccer this weekend. What they're really saying is, I don't want to drive to Dallas this weekend and be in a hotel. If they had,
they still want to play soccer.
So they may want. Well, no, I'd rather play a game on Saturday morning, and I'd rather be a kid the rest of the weekend. Whereas, mom and dad and the coach want them to go to Dallas and play 4 games and not get to be a kid. So that's my take on it. I've coached club. I've coached high school, I've coached college, I've coached male, I've coached female. So I think sometimes it's not necessarily that they don't love soccer anymore, or basketball, or whatever, this baseball. I think sometimes the way we do the sports in this country, where we go chasing the opportunities, and where we and I get it. Sometimes you have to do that. And again, I'm part of the problem as a college coach. I'm traveling to the big tournaments. So if kids want to get in front of me, I'm sorry, sometimes they have to go to them, right? So that's where sometimes that can be a bit of a double-edged sword, if you know what I mean. Those tournaments are great. You're getting to play against better talent. You're getting exposure. However, the flip side of that is there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of travel, a lot of time. And that can put a lot of pressure on families, and that can put a strain. And then the kids feel that, and the kids see that. And I think sometimes that is a big reason for kids quitting and burnout,
You know what? two things that I like about your point is one, I'm fortunate that the Valley has these leagues here
Yeah,
because we're playing against teams that when they do go travel up to San Antonio or to Houston or the Atlanta tournaments, they're always in the final or the semifinal.
yeah,
So we're playing against good quality teams down here. So it gives you a good measure. So, for example, we played
yeah,
FC Dallas 2015 the other day, and you can see, oh, that's where we need to be, or not need to be, but we need to work on some things. And the other part of that is something that I've always enjoyed, where I have my trainings every Monday, Wednesday, before and after there's a playground. So my kids, after their before the soccer training and after the soccer training, they go and play. So there's always that connect of, hey, I still get to play. Like I'm gonna go play, and then I have to do some
love it.
drills, I have to do a little scrimmage, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna get to play. I'm still a kid and play tag or
Yeah,
use your imagination,
yeah, love that. I love that.
which is a
Look,
good thing.
again, I don't want to contradict myself. I think at some stage, if you're going to get a pro contract or you're going to get a scholarship, to play college, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. There's some great NAA options and junior college, all that, etc. At some stage, you've got to get exposure and you've got to play at a good level and you've got to get out in front of coaches, and you will have to. In the US, you will inevitably have to travel. I just think a lot of kids are starting that too young,
I think that's
and
what it
then
is. That's
then
what it is, coach.
I think you know that then puts pressure, whether people realize it or not. It
Mm.
does create pressure, and
The
it does,
anxiety, the mental stuff that comes with it.
and financial and all that. So those are in my opinion, I don't think kids need to do that as early as a lot of them are doing it.
Yeah. Maybe I think you're right. It's more like, okay, you're in elementary, you're playing on the weekend, you're scrimmaging twice a week. More what junior high where it's like, hey, you're pretty good, and now it's time to put a little bit more work in.
I
To
think
the
it's
12,
different for
13 year olds.
I think it's different for every kid. One of the things that is a hot topic right now, for a lot of development coaches in Europe is, how do we manage kids through puberty?
Mm.
And the kid that maybe is the best player at 12 maybe has a hard time, or maybe growth spurt, or maybe puberty comes early or late, and so sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. And then maybe you have a kid that 12, 13. We have this in America where they're brilliant at baseball, they're brilliant at basketball, they're brilliant at soccer. If that kid's not ready to decide which sport he wants to, well, then
Mm.
let him do it. So I think it's going to be different for every kid. I think it's going to be different for every. It's going to be based on ability. It's going to be based on when opportunities come. Sometimes those. I think a famous one is Christian Pulisic had the opportunity to go to Europe. Maybe 15, 16. And for him and his family, he had to decide there and then, is it right for me to go Europe at this age? And it looks like it's worked out for him. But
Oh man, no doubt.
if he'd have stayed in the US a few more years, would it have worked out? We'll never know, right?
You'll never
So
know.
I don't think there's a one size fits all. I don't think it's as easy to say by 13 you better have signed up for this team or that team,
Yeah.
or I think every kid you gotta go with it. What I'm trying to do, we always talk about our boys. What I'm trying to do, you know, is let it be Campbell's idea as much as possible. Like if he has an opportunity to play or do something. We were just back in Ireland for a family time, and when his nieces and nephews were playing, and had some opportunities to play and watch stuff, I was letting him decide. Do you want to go and play with your cousins? Or do you want to go and watch the game? I'm going to watch a game. And so I try to give it back to him as much as I can, try to let him
Mm.
fall in love with it. Me being a coach, I don't want it to be forced on him. I don't want him to have that pressure. He has to do it because his dad did it, So
Yeah.
that's something I have to worry, be careful of.
Interesting. A quick question that I'm thinking about. I want you to touch on this for the American public. I asked you last week when or how normal it was to time in the 40-yard dash? Because
Yeah,
here in baseball, it's a 60,
yeah,
in football, it's a 40. Can you touch on that?
yeah. Because I had to laugh. We were talking about it. I'd never heard of it till I came to America. To be honest with you, it was never something. I'm fortunate. I've done my UEFA coaching badges, and that has allowed me to build relationships with guys. So when I was on my A license, for instance, became friends with some coaches that work at Southampton, of one of the best academies in the world in England,
Mm.
Fulham, and a few other clubs in England, and that's not something they are testing, they are measuring stuff, they are keeping an eye on stuff, but it's not the be all and end all, and it's not certainly something that the emphasis on as much as it is here in America.
Excuse me.
And when we were talking last week, I brought up the point of, you might be faster than me, but if I read the game better of you, if my instinct, if my reactions are quicker, it means I'm maybe starting the race two steps ahead of you.
Yeah,
So obviously, if we all want fast and we all want athletic, but it's not the be all and end all in our sport, I don't think, and especially if their soccer IQ is good, maybe they can get away with it, yeah, but it's not this. It's definitely. I laugh when I see the NFL combines and they test those things, and I just think, right, but when do you ever see somebody doing that in a game? When is that movement ever like that in a game? So
yeah,
sometimes I think we can get distracted a little bit.
yeah, for sure. I know I was big into it. I'm still big into it, but now as I'm going more into the soccer area because of my son, is decision making, understanding when to, all these decisions that come with it. And I remind him. Uh, let's get a little bit back to for the Valley parents, especially Valley parents, because Valley parents, the Mexican culture, the
Yeah.
passion, you know, what do you think? I don't know how to word this, but for example, how many Valley kids do you have on your roster right now?
We would have, I think the current roster, we would have four, and we have a couple coming in next year as well.
Oh
And
yeah, nice.
we're actually having an ID camp this weekend. And ID camps are things that we use to try and identify players, and it's a way for players to get coached by us. It's a way for players to get to know what we're like, and we'll have several Valley kids that are at that. So
What
we're trying
what
to
is the
make
age
sure.
group?
High school kids.
High
So
school,
yeah,
freshmen
yeah,
to seniors,
yeah, yeah. So
incoming.
recruit, yeah. So uh, those are the ages that we're looking at, and so we listen. If there's a kid in the valley that can get the job done, I'd rather that than have to go the other side of the world looking for a player. I think the other thing, if we can recruit well locally, then there's a lot of pride here, and we
Man,
want people coming to our games. We want people believing us. We want people knowing about us, and so one of the ways to do that is if we can convince some of the local talent to stay here and play for us. So yeah, yeah. When I interviewed, the athletic director Chase asked me, he's like, "Hey, uh, people are passionate about soccer down here. How can we tap into that, and how can we get them out supporting more? And if there is good local players that are good enough to do it, how can we recruit them?" The other thing I would say, sometimes people want to go away to college, and sometimes that's one of the things of
yeah,
growing up. So
yeah,
sometimes there may be a kid in the valley that's a great player and we want them, but they like, hey, no, for me, I need to get away to college, and that might be the right
yeah,
thing for them to do. And the big thing, what I have to protect myself and the program and the kids from, we can't sign people just because they're from the valley.
mm,
If we're not able to give them a good experience, if they're not able to handle Division 1 soccer, the last thing we need is a local kid having a bad experience. Because that's the last thing they'll be telling their high
yeah.
school coaches, they'll be telling their cousins, they'll be telling their,
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is make sure that the kids that we do bring on the team, whether they're from the Valley or whether they're from anywhere, can we give that kid an experience that's going to help them, and can we give them, it's not always about playing time, but can we give them an experience where they are come away and graduate and go, right, I've got my degree, I'm a better person, I'm a better player from my time at UTRGV, and I loved it and I grew and all that, So we have to make sure they're good enough and able to manage it all.
I saw that once. I was at Indiana State, and I became a practice player for the girls team.
Yeah.
And I remember there's one girl, she got recruited, she was on scholarship, and for some odd reason, she was just having trouble keeping up with those girls, and you could see it. She would miss a routine layup, and her face and her demeanor, and her experience was. And sure enough, she didn't come back the next year. I think she even stopped playing and hanging out. She just stopped. It was just, you could tell it was just a terrible experience for her. Who knows what happened from high school to college, or it's a different game. It's a whole different situation. You're away from home. You're living in the residence halls. It's more like a job. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, and then listen, there could be simple things like not knowing how to eat right. We get a lot of kids that come in and the parents have cooked every meal for them, and now it's like, right, well, so there's so much goes into it. There's so much that will define whether they're a success or not, and a lot of it's unknown, a lot of it we don't control. And then so the biggest problem we're having at the minute is people not trusting the process, so everybody wants it immediate. Everybody, well, I didn't play as a freshman, well, I'm transferring. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago, freshmen didn't expect to play. Freshmen knew that they would come in and have to work and learn and be, and then they, in time it would come for them. Now we, every school, every coach you talk to is dealing with it. Right, I didn't play. I'm on the transfer portal. I'm going somewhere else.
Even at the high school level,
so
they're coming as freshmen. They want to be able to play on the varsity. It's like, wait a minute. You're a freshman. Relax.
Yeah. So I think sometimes players and parents just aren't willing to buy into the process. And then the other thing is, and I wouldn't criticize the kids for this, because we see it, and like professional soccer, we see it. Maybe a player's amazing in Germany and he gets sold to Spain to play for Barcelona and he can't handle it, or they get sold to a team in England and they can't handle the weather and the food and the climate, and they're homesick, and all of a sudden they aren't performing. So I have to remind myself that things that professional athletes who have a lot of help and a lot of support struggle with, it's only natural that some of the 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds that I'm coaching are probably going to struggle with that, So, again, if a kid comes into my office and says, "Hey, coach, I'm homesick," or "Hey, coach, I'm struggling. I'm living. This is the first time I've lived on my own, and struggling to make good choices, even right." So there's a lot more that goes into it, Now, again, I feel very fortunate that in the college environment, I'm with the kids. I can have a relationship, and we can try and help them with some of that stuff, and then it's very rewarding when you see them stick at it and graduate or overcome some of those challenges,
Man, that is so awesome to see. Seeing that we're talking about the Valley and the all these things that come with it. What me as a parent or just parents in general, ID camps. One recruiter once told me, make sure you have a YouTube highlight channel where highlights of your son or daughter. What other avenues are people needing to do to make sure that they get seen or recruited or heard of or whatever it may be?
So I think a little bit of everything, I think now most people are able to record and then put some stuff on YouTube. You don't have to pay someone to do it. There is people who are doing that, of course. So it depends on who you are and what level you want to do it. But on the YouTube thing, some of the mistakes, like a coach sent me a video yesterday of a midfielder, and she was brilliant on the ball. And I just said, "Hey, I need to see, does she run back when she doesn't have the ball? I don't
Mm,
know, can she tackle? I don't know, can she head? You know,
I
like
see.
I
Good
was like,
point.
hey, the video, her on the ball is brilliant. But when we're trying to look and go, right, for us, we want our midfielders, can they run up and down the field? Can they
Yeah,
head? Can they fight? Can they compete? And I just look and go, I have no idea, can that girl do that? So the video has got to be quality, and it's got to show like a wide range of skills,
I see.
so that
Yeah,
when I'm finished watching the video, I have an idea what the player can do, rather than, I said, going, right, well, I've just watched 10 minutes of highlights and I have more questions than answers. That's not really
got
going to
it.
that's not really going to help me.
That's good
So
to know.
those are, and then again, it blows my mind when we're talking about character. I understand I'm going to sound old here. I understand what the kids listen to now is a little bit different than what I listen to. But when your highlight tape has music that has profanity in it and stuff like that, it's just
Mm,
straight away that's a turn off for a lot of coaches. And
right.
I'm not saying we don't listen to that. I'm not saying the kids don't listen to that in the apartments, but it's not appropriate that that's on your highlight tape,
For
and
the
and
highlight
and,
tape,
and
yeah.
again, it blows your mind how often you hear it, and you're just like,
Mm,
um, so those are some of the do's and don'ts with the
yeah,
the
there
the
you
the,
go.
the, the YouTube stuff, the ID camp stuff. It's wonderful if it's done right. So like we're going to have one on Saturday. The kids will get a tour of the school. They'll get to meet players. They'll get to ask players questions. I'm going to run sessions. Audra's going to run sessions. They're going to get coached by the players. So any kid that comes to our camp on Saturday, when they leave that camp, they're going to know what it's like to be a Division One soccer player. They're going to know what I'm like as a person, what I'm like as a coach. They're going to get to see the campus. They're going to meet the strength coach. They're going to meet the academic advisor. They're going to know by Saturday night what it is to be a UTRGV soccer player, what it takes, and do they want to do it? And we'll have an idea, are they good enough to do it? So I think,
Really?
so there's that to it, but so I think that's a wonderful experience, and it's a great way for recruiting. However, there's a cost in these things involved, right? So we have a cost that people pay, and there's reasons for that. We have to, pay coaches and pay for
Right,
equipment and
right,
pay for,
right.
right,
You're gonna
right.
pay it.
So that's the reality of it, right? I see a lot of parents going to maybe 10, 15 camps and spending a lot of money, spending thousands of dollars at the end of the summer. They look and go, gosh, I went to all these camps and have no offers. And you go, well, yeah, well, you were going to schools that you probably were never going to have a chance at getting signed at. You were going to school camps that you were never, that was not realistic for you to,
Right.
so I would tell the parents have to be realistic about what camps they're going to. Is it a camp that your daughter or your son actually has a chance of playing at that school? And that's where you have to be realistic, and that's where you have to, I'm sure Texas's camp is brilliant. I'm sure A&M's camp is brilliant.
Mm,
But is every kid good enough to play at Texas? Is every kid good enough to play at A&M?
great point.
In these places, and I'm not criticizing those schools, and I'm not saying everybody can't play there. They obviously, like us, will sign players from their camps, but before you spend $200 or $300 going to a camp, you need to make sure that your son or daughter has potential to potentially play there.
I mean, even then, I mean, you go to one of those camps and you just see if you're objective enough, whether you're going to go to any other camps that are at a high level, because you can see whether your son or daughter can hang and can compete, or hey, you know what, it's time to play at lower end camps, tier 2,
So
tier
the
3, whatever it
problem
may
I
be.
have with that is, coach, me and you are talking like two coaches right now. So you've got your coach's hat on. You're saying, like, objectively, you realize, hey, listen, I'm a midfielder. I was at that camp. I was not able to hang with the other midfielders. So maybe I shouldn't be looking at Division 1, maybe I should be looking, maybe Division 2 is a better fit for me.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Brilliant. You're thinking like a coach there.
Right.
Parents aren't thinking like that.
No,
Parents are thinking, well, the coach set up a bad session, or the coach didn't, or put them on the wrong team, or well, it was just a bad day, like it was too hot, or well, she didn't sleep well last night. We got to the hotel, so, or if I say, listen, hey, respectfully, I don't think your daughter can help us at UTRGV. Well, they're on to the next school to try and prove me wrong. It's like, well, we'll go, we'll go, and we'll find a Division 1 school that's gonna we're gonna prove you wrong. And listen, here's the wonderful thing. It is about opinions. There's no black and white in our game. It is about opinions, and there is players that I've said, hey, can't sign you, not the right fit for us, or maybe we don't need a centre back this year, or maybe we don't, or maybe we can't give you the scholarship you need. So
and that's what I think by position too. It kind of
So there's other things, but no, I laughed when you said it. That like you're thinking like a coach there. Trust me, not many parents think like that. Not many parents.
Oh,
we can joke as well because we're parents ourselves as well, right? So yes, of course,
Hey, so make sure you send me how many kids do you have signed up for this camp on Saturday? Can people still show up on Saturday, or is it too late?
They can sign up and if they have any problems with that, they can send me an email. But we're at about 30 now, and we usually cap them at 40. We again, so to get back, like, not right or wrong, some people have 100 at theirs. For me, I don't think you can evaluate 100 people. If there's 40 kids come to my camp, I can coach every kid. I can talk to every kid. I can high five every kid. I can have a personal interaction with every kid. My staff can have personal interactions with the kids. I can see them. We can set up small-sided games in the morning. We can set up 11v11 in the afternoon. That's how we do it. So we can set up scenarios, and if you have, once you start to go for that number of kids, it's hard to evaluate. You can maybe miss a kid, and again, listen, we're all human, even with smaller numbers, I can still miss a kid or get it wrong, but I just think with the smaller numbers, we eliminate some of the problems, and we're able to make better decisions, and the kids are able to make better decisions. The kids are able to get some contact time with us, and they can go, love Coach Foster, want to play for him, or they can go, hey, that guy from Ireland's crazy, don't want to play for him. So sometimes,
but that's a good thing, because it's got to be the right fit.
So I think sometimes when there's 100 kids, or some of these camps have 200, you get lost in the crowd,
Absolutely. I had when I was working at UTSA before I came down to the Valley, there was this one guy, he played at Ohio State, and he goes, man, I don't even remember the head coach's name that was there at Ohio State at the time. He goes, you want to know how many times I talked to that guy? He goes, 0. I never talked to him. He never said a word. He didn't even know who I was. And you reminded that this conversation reminds me of that, on how you can miss people because it's so big.
So but again, I'm just telling you how we do it. There's other people are doing it and doing it different ways, and that works for them, and no problem. Good luck to them.
What does your collegiate schedule look like? When do you play? What days do you play? Is it like a set Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday, Saturday?
Last year, it was Friday, Sunday, and thankfully
Friday, Sunday.
Thankfully, we were able to get it changed. So this will be the first year we're playing Thursday, Sunday. Most Division 1 leagues are now playing Thursday, Sunday. Just to give the kids a little bit. Try to play at the weekends so we don't miss as much class, and then we're trying to get that balance, and so. But even that is a big commitment. Sometimes we'll be leaving on a Wednesday and flying to Seattle, play Thursday. Maybe this year we're flying then down to Salt Lake to play Utah Valley, and we'll fly back Sunday or Monday. So we can be on the road for a long time, and so again, you want to make sure everybody likes each other, and you want to make sure there's good relationships, and then you want to make sure the kids are behaving in the hotel and the character's right, and you want to make sure they're doing their schoolwork when they're on the road. So the schedule can be quite tough. The schedule can be quite hard, and that's Division One athletics. If you think at a baseball, look how many baseball games they play.
Yeah.
I was having dinner with one of our baseball coaches last night, and I think he was telling me the last 3 weeks of the season they were on the road. So the kids were having to do a lot of stuff remotely. You look at a sport like basketball; they play over the holidays, right? So they're not really getting much time off at Thanksgiving or Christmas, etc. So it's a big commitment to play any sport in college, and so again, it comes back to we're looking for the right character, we're looking for good students, and we're looking for people who love it, and because they love it, they're going to embrace that. And so it comes back to how do you find that out, and how do you tick all those boxes? Well, you can't do that just watching somebody's 10-minute highlights on YouTube. The 10 minutes on YouTube may get you excited about a kid and may lead to a phone conversation, but really you need to get more contact time, and you really need to get to know the people around the kid, the family, everybody involved.
How many tournaments do you go to? I guess one thing that I'm not aware of, and how college coaches deal with is, do you go to more high school playoff games? Do you go to the state tournament? Do you go to certain showcase tournaments? Or besides, exploring other, but here in the States, or in the state of Texas, or in the United States, how does that work? Where do you go see more players?
Down here in the valley, it's a little bit of everything. So it's unique. The Valley High School, for instance, their season sort of starts, before and after Christmas. Well, we have an NCAA dead period in the middle there, so there's about a 4-week period where we actually. The kids in the valley are playing high school soccer. I'm actually not allowed to go out and watch them in person because it's a recruiting dead period. So that's the challenge. A lot of kids in the valley have invited me to college game or asked me to come and watch, and I just haven't been able to come and watch because of the NCAA dead period. Now, because once that dead period's over and the playoffs are usually starting and state tournaments usually starting, I've been able to go to some games because we're out of season. And actually, I think we even seen ourselves at one of the Mac High games.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
So
Nicky Rowe.
So we try to do that, and one of the girls on Nicky Rowe's coming to play for us next year.
Oh, is she nice?
Yeah, little
Who
Alani.
was that?
Little Alani, little attacking midfielder. So.
Okay, nice. Awesome.
Yeah, so we're excited. So we do try to get out to some of the high school games. But it's just not all. Some of it's just not possible, and some of it's not practical with the dead period. Then as far as tournaments, this last year I went to the Junior College National Tournament. I went, with international recruiting. I've been in Canada, I've been in England, I've been in Ireland. This in the last 12 months, watching games and recruiting international players. Been to tournaments all over America, all over the state. So a little bit of everything. So from watching a local high school game to being in the snow in Canada, watching an indoor game, to being in Ireland last week and going to watch a game in Ireland, trying to find some diamonds in the rough over there that nobody knows about. So there's supposed to be family time,
Nice.
and I'm sneaking out to watch games. So
it never turns off.
It doesn't. You can't. There is no clock in and clock out in coaching.
You got to try to manage it.
Yeah. So, but again, I come back to I love it. So it's not a problem. It is. I don't find. I enjoy watching the game. I love it,
So my brother, Coach Montalvo, and other conversations. we talk about, hey, one of the things that mostly me and my brother is like, hey, the mecca of soccer is in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
That's the mecca. But then, of course, his sons are with SC Dallas, and they compete out there, and they can hang. And then we've got 956 United,
Yeah.
pretty good as well. Where is it where you just see where you go to a certain area and it's just you don't just have one team, you don't have two teams, you have like 6, 8, 10 just solid players and teams. What is there an area in the state of Texas or in the nation where you say, no, you go here, high chances you're going to find a good quality and quantity of players?
For sure, Dallas is. I mean, I have friends that work at FC Dallas and the academy there, and they have thousands of kids trying out, thousands, and they're putting in age groups.
DFW area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but they're putting teams together in age groups where they maybe have 3 or 4 solid teams. Like it's incredible. Like in my recruiting, I've recruited good players that have been on second and third teams at FC Dallas that have been just stud kids,
Wow.
So yeah, Dallas is it really is. I don't know what's in the water in Dallas, but yeah.
Does Houston come close to it at all, or
we
from your experience?
we have earmarked. When we got here, we sat down in our recruiting meetings and said, right, like where are places we can and should be recruiting and doing a better job. And straight away we said, right, we need to be more known in the local community. We need to be seen in the local community, and we need to try and find local talent. And then we talked that we're looking to go right. Most parts of Houston are 5-6 hours away. That's a good catchment area. And there's some great clubs in Houston, some very good tournaments in Houston. We've been able to go to some they host ECNL there. Challenge Soccer Club, they host a big tournament at the start of June every year. And Rise Soccer Club play in the GA there and are doing a great job. And so some fantastic talent and some fantastic clubs in Houston. And I'm not allowed to name names on these things with NCAA rules, but one of our verbal commitments for 24 is a girl from Houston, and we're really excited. And in San Antonio, we're trying to, again, just up the road there, we're trying to lots of talent, and we're trying to fight and compete and let those kids know that when they come down to the valley, there's good soccer here and a good place to play college soccer. But there's talent all over Texas. There really is.
I guess the challenge is finding it.
Yeah. I think, women's soccer, I think there's 25 Division I women's soccer programs in Texas.
Wow.
So there's talent, but you're competing with an awful lot of people.
Right.
I think that's somewhere around that, or somewhere around 25, I think.
Right. Ballpark figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Some big schools with long histories and big traditions and, good programs. So, there's talent here, but everybody wants it. And then another thing we've noticed, if you look at rosters of teams in Arkansas and Oklahoma and Kansas and all that, they're all filled with Texas kids as well.
Really?
Those guys in soccer and other sports are coming down to shop in the Texas market. So
okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for Texas parents.
It is, and again, I think parents have to be open-minded about what schools they look at and where they look and what division they look at and all that stuff. Yeah, of course.
Man, Coach, that's a very informative. I didn't know that, but I'm glad you shared that with us. From the parenting aspect, where do coaches look? I mean, when you go, okay, how about this? When you go to the big tournaments that you mentioned right now, how often are Valley teams up there? And these are tournaments, not high school tournaments, or club tournaments.
No, these are club tournaments. So The Valley currently doesn't have anybody playing in the ECNL or the Girls Academy on the girls' side. Now, on the boys' side, it's a little bit different. You have the MLS next, and you have some of the other opportunities.
Right.
And the boys' side is different. They are working hard to change that. I think 956 United on the girls' side are actually traveling, and some of their better teams are traveling, and playing against higher competition and good standard. There is a group of local players that are affiliated with Classics Elite in San Antonio, which on the girls' side
That's where they're from. They were
is
at the
a
tournament this weekend that they
yeah
hosted here
yeah
in
they're
McAllen.
they're an ECNL club, so there is some kids from the Valley are
ECNL.
getting to play in the ECNL on the girls' side. So, and I know that
There's four so far. So there's four so far that I know of from what you just mentioned.
I know the guys at 956 are working hard to get those teams in better leagues and better opportunities.
Yeah.
But we also have to get FC Dallas coming down here to play. We have to get San Antonio coming down here to play. We have to get the teams in Austin and Houston.
Yeah.
It can't always be Valley kids go there.
Well, they're gonna have the cage. The guys that just hosted, they're called Soccer Revolution, I think it is.
Yeah.
They just hosted. They're the ones that host the major 4 or 5 tournaments here in the Valley.
Yeah.
I know 956 United did it. Hosted one of them like within a week or two from what they had. But they're the main guys that have been having it for the past year. They had it this summer. They last weekend. Classics Elite was here. I didn't know where they were from. I said, well, I don't know. I guess somewhere here in the Valley.
Yeah.
I guess they're from San Antonio. We used to have the Rush or the Wave. The what? I forget the name of the team. It was in blue. Some girls were playing in Corpus and in San Antonio on the weekends. There's 956 United. And then there is FC Dallas. So we have 4 major academies that are developing girl athletes.
Yeah. I think there's opportunities here. I do think there is. Yeah.
But now we need, like you said, when we do host a tournament, we need more girl teams from the northern part of Texas or San Antonio, Corpus to come down here and play here instead of us going there all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And what we need to figure out at UTRGV is, how do we tap into the Mexican talent? There's, how do we get players from Mexico that are good enough, and how do we tap into that? I'm sure that's an untapped market. I'm sure there's lots of players down there that would love the opportunity and would be good enough. So, yeah,
for sure.
Watch this space. Hopefully, we can figure out that soon as well.
Well, when they have those tournaments here, a lot of academies from Mexico come up.
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah. Because there's like 3 or 4 of different ones, and I've seen it. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, where are these guys from? Monterrey, Reynosa, Tamaulipas, down within 3 to 4 hour drive from here. Well, that sounds good. Coach, thank you so much for all your information. Anything else you might want to share with us?
Listen, my information is on the website. My email's there. If I can... Don't ask me about parenting. I'm still trying to figure that out, as you know. But if I can ever do anything from a soccer standpoint, feel free to drop me an email. I'll try and help any way I can. Would tell everybody listening, everybody in the Valley, we've got a great men's soccer team. We've got a great women's soccer team. Would love to see us out of games. Admission's free. We've got a beautiful facility, great stands. We've done a lot of, our administration have done a great job investing in the facility and spent a lot of money. So really nice facility, good standard of soccer. And so would love to see some of the local soccer fans out watching our games this season. So check out the UTRGV website for schedules and all that. And we'd love to have the support, and we'd appreciate it. And if we can do anything for anybody in the community, we'll try to help. And then thank you for You've been great for me. You've been great for my family, Coach. You've been great for my boy. You've given him opportunities and
Great kid.
and made us feel welcome. And even this opportunity tonight, it's been wonderful for me. So, as we say in Ireland, cheers, sláinte, mates, and appreciate it. And anything we can do to pay back what you've done for us, we will.
You got it, Coach. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I really appreciate all the insight.
No problem. God bless everybody, and good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night, Coach.
Bye.
Bye. Mendezville Live. That's Coach Mark Foster, UTRGV. Great guy, Coach's son. Very awesome guy. We go back and forth, and we just pick our brains, and there's a lot of information that I picked up from him, and he's very passionate. He cares a lot about the community, actually, and he's really enjoying the Valley. So, hey, hopefully you enjoyed the show. You guys have a good night. Peace be.